since we're doing it live.
Hey guys, welcome to Sunrise Extra on a Tuesday. We are talking digital detoxing on our streaming show online where we all have devices. Devices.
Yeah, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. All right,
yes,
people will give up their digital feed if you keep talking.
We need help, right? We need help. Okay, we're talking digital detox.
I'm inadvertently digitally detoxing.
Good.
Wow.
I left my phone in the other studio.
Accidentally digitally
Won't be able to
detoxing.
live chat with anyone.
Yeah, go get it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Brett.
So we did this kind of theme week back in November. We're doing it again because we got such great response. Christine is leading our coverage. You met a family who volunteered themselves out of Oregon City to get rid of everything for a weekend.
Yeah, and this was after I decided to do it myself back in November, I think it was. So an entire weekend, no smartphones, no like Apple Watches, video games for this particular family and other smart devices. I think we have the story ready to air, right? Okay, so we want you to meet the Garners.
Okay.
Meet the Garners.
8, 9, 4, 5. Hi, Dad.
This Oregon City family has decided to take on the mission of a weekend-long digital detox.
So we're doing no video games, which means even on phones, on your phones and your iPads, no games on there.
We gave her the freedom to take the challenge as far as she wanted. She decided no texting and none of those smart home devices either. And for these kids who love their Nintendo Switch,
Everybody pick your characters.
the detox might be a little bit of a challenge.
I want a backflip.
But Mom Sydney says her family needs a little time away from electronics.
There's just way too much of it. It's just a weekend, and I hope that it helps the kids realize that life doesn't revolve around video games.
And for adults, it may be just as hard. She says there's just too much stuff to look at. All the dinging, ringing, and alerts can be overwhelming.
As soon as I get a notification is when I'll feel anxious about it, like I need to check it.
And in some cases, that constant screen time is addictive.
It's not just the kids that get addicted to it, it's the adults, it's everybody.
Okay, so that is totally true, which is why we decided to do this whole digital detoxing. And tomorrow, I mean, we followed them, you know, throughout the weekend, kind of checked in on them. So tomorrow we're going to see how that family fared, because the kids didn't have to just give up those video games, but they have to give up, you know, iPhones, their Apple Watch, and both kids, at least Chloe and Cooper, have Amazon Alexas in their room. And I know
What do they use those for? That's what I was wondering. Like
the Amazon
For music?
Yeah, so the Amazon Alexa, I know that Chloe loves Frozen, so she'll ask Spotify to like play tracks from Frozen. And then Mom Sydney said she decided she needed to get Cooper an iPhone as well, because she just is worried about safety sometimes, because she had her own experience as a kid.
He has an Apple Watch.
He has an Apple Watch too, but he doesn't do a lot of games on there, he tells me. It's mostly, he says he sets the timer for when he brushes his teeth.
So we were talking about, I mean, like, they have a lot of devices in their home, like so many families. Did she say, like, we know that we need to back off a little bit, or like, why did they want to volunteer for this?
Well, they just, especially for the kids, they're still all about those video games. You heard little Chloe there, I want to play the Nintendo. That sounded really intense, but Mom and Dad had already given the go-ahead. They said, okay, you can play the Nintendo. Then she was super excited, ran into the room, and that's when she got all like, I can't wait to play the Nintendo, you know. But Mom wants to make sure that the kids know, hey, there's more to life than just like playing your Nintendo Switch, playing the Xbox. And you know, her husband Jeff, he has a phone too. He likes to scroll certain apps or whatnot.
Just scrolling.
Yeah, or like, you know, I can't remember, like I think ESPN and some news apps and stuff, but he has stuff that he does on his phone. She just wants the family to be more connected to each other versus their devices, I think. So
You know, it's tough to, you don't want to be judgmental, right? Because first of all, I think I like this family from the little bit I've seen.
Yeah,
in the piece.
they're great.
Alive.
They volunteered for this.
Households that have this.
But it's very quick to judge because even my wife, who never watches, or at least I didn't think ever watched our Sunrise show, because she never communicates during it. She actually texted right after your story.
Oh, really?
And says, "My goodness, that 8-year-old has an Apple Watch and an iPhone." So I'm thinking, you know, maybe the family, on one hand, they recognize that we need to back off from these. On the other hand, they are supplying the children with the devices to be digitally.
But it's so tough when these digital devices are like all over the place. They're advertised, and I mean, they're just so readily available. And I guess more and more kids, teens, have them. You know,
the bigger issue is how do they survive it, and I know that story is to come tomorrow. And what did they learn from it?
Yeah,
and
that's
how are
coming
they
tomorrow.
going to grow from it? You know, moving past this experience. So that was last weekend. How will next weekend be different from the weekend before last? Put it that way. You know, will they change their habits?
It's like, as my mom used to say,
Well,
the horse is out of the barn. Because it is hard once you get used to this device, and it is so stimulating to the pleasure centers in your brain with the fast cuts and the, you know, constant stimulation. Just stepping back and having a conversation or playing a game or something like that, there's a different interaction with that versus this. So I do think it's hard once you start. It's not impossible by any stretch of the imagination. But, you know, I always say, because I'm the one with the oldest kids, my kids are grown now, I would do it completely differently. And it wasn't even as connected when my 26-year-old and 21-year-old were little. I would not have started it in the same way. I mean, and they didn't have... I mean, I think my daughter said she was in junior high school when she finally got a smartphone. But I would try and hold it off as long as possible for our family in hindsight.
Right. So I was going to ask for a specific because, and there you kind of gave me one there at the end, but like what would you have done differently specifically?
Oh, I just remember the boys being absolutely catatonic in front of those video game consoles.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, hello.
So you would have put like a
guys.
time limit
I mean,
on
not
it then? Or?
food, not, yes, probably more.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I've seen that at 2.5 now with Patrick just watching television, catatonic, like just very into his Daniel Tiger or whatever. So that's frightening. But we also, I mean, aside from the stimulation that we get with our phones, they have become an unbelievable resource for getting stuff done, right?
Absolutely.
So they're an integral part of our work day, forget about work day, like our lives, right? So that's, you've got that element too, that the technology companies have done a great job of making you need this thing, right? So,
yeah, need in air quotes. You're so right, though, because this allows you to never stop working. I think, I mean, for me, I've gotten to the point where I'm trying to be intentional about when I work, right? Because with this, I can always look up something. I can always check on an interview. I can always look at my email. I can always follow up on something. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to always be
connected.
I'm with you.
Something about the screens, right, versus reading print. Because, you know, in the old days.
Well, we're just, I mean, you're able to contact someone instantly now, when before, you know, you were leaving voicemails on an answering machine, and if someone wasn't home, that was it. You didn't hear from, you know, like now there's this constant pressure to stay in contact and respond within a timely manner.
And it's
especially if
easy.
It's a work thing.
Don't you love on like the iPhone when you can? There's the part of the messaging that shows when the person's typing their reply.
Yes.
It's like wait, and you can deactivate that, by the way, disable that.
You can.
I think I've done. Yeah, there's a way.
Well, and we've been wondering if other people could do this, you know, because I did it for a weekend and I lived. Obviously the Garners did it for a weekend. They lived. Who was it? Stanford Walker says, I can't digital detox. He's on our Facebook stream. That would mean no KGW Sunrise. Our Walker home would say no to digital detox.
You know, Kathy follows up on that comment from Stanford, Christine. She says, I could detox, and I have detoxed. Good morning, by the way, Kathy. She says, but she does rely on her digital devices to be sure. she likes the fact that her 17-year-old daughter can reach her in an emergency through these devices.
Absolutely.
And that always seems to be what people fall back to. And
Yes.
not to say that it's wrong to fall back on that, but is the sort of that emergency factor?
Well, my daughter, again, my youngest, is 21, and she is like, I would be so freaked out if I was in the car somewhere and I didn't have the GPS. And
Right.
how did you ever get where you were
I know.
going?
Right.
How did you ever know? I just wouldn't feel comfortable. I mean, all these things just spin.
Yeah.
It is. It's like, in case of this, then we can do this. And I'm like, you know what? We used to say, now where is that again?
Right.
And we'd write it down on a little piece of paper.
Yeah,
and,
we had map
but
books in the
she-
car.
Yeah.
Or you print MapQuest directions.
MapQuest
So
directions.
today we're doing something really interesting. Later this afternoon, we're having a Portland psychologist come in. She speaks all around the country. She's been quoted in, the New York Times, Time Magazine, Washington Post. And she is a tech addiction specialist.
She's
She has
awesome.
clients all in the Portland area in her Lake Oswego office who are addicted to video games, who are addicted to social media, who, and they feel, it's linked to depression, anxiety, like staying in your house and like disconnecting with real people. Right. So she's leading us through what she calls a boredom party. So she'll have people, she has 2 kids at home, she's married. She will have friends over or just her family on a weekend night. They put away all the devices and she brings out toys and games, things like koosh balls and etch-a-sketches and puzzles and musical instruments, puts them all on the coffee table and kind of she's going to walk us through like how to host a boredom party.
Love it.
No phones allowed, no TVs allowed, put some music on, like connect real with each other. And I just love her. She gave one of the speeches at the Portland State graduation. I just watched it yesterday on YouTube because this is the generation, that is like, so, it's all of us really that rely on the phone. But she always says, to her credit, she apologizes for her generation, our generation, because we made this technology and we made email and all this stuff of like, that's the way you have to communicate. And then we shame young people for it.
Absolutely.
Oh, look at how addicted they are. It's so gross. Like they're not even paying attention. They're zoned out. But that's our fault for handing them this and then shaming them for it.
It was, yes, I guess our fault, quote unquote, but it is the grand experiment on children because nobody knows, even still.
What
we're
the
seeing
long-term effects
exactly.
are.
Well,
exactly.
you can take it back a generation before because there was a time when people didn't have televisions, right? And so I'm sure there was some uproar back when TVs came into play where like families are now losing that quality family time because now they're sitting down in front of a television. But we're so far past that now, right? And we're so far past that we don't even But we don't even think of that as being weird or odd. But I'm sure back in the 1940s or 50s, people go, "Man, look at that family! All they do is sit in front of that TV."
Yeah.
To me, like now, that's like nothing. Like, good for you. Oh, you're just watching TV? You're not staring at one of these? Now you're blessed.
Now you're doing both at the same time.
You know what this conversation kind of reminds me of too during the TEDx talks from last year? Do you remember? And I for the life of me, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he was an engineer. He was a software engineer that gave a really pronounced talk on how engineering has a lot of responsibility in the power that they wield because they have engineered these things to be so
Addicted.
right to the bottom of the brainstem, right?
Yes.
And so they're great at their jobs. Now let's maybe do something better with it.
Yeah, and I think for us, really all of us in a way, when you didn't start out in your childhood with that, high speed, intense, everything that you can find on your phone, you do understand how to have a direct conversation and how to relate to people and how to pick up the phone and how to, speak your mind. But the kids who have never had to do that, and it's always once removed through this, that's when you have all this kind of like, they can be sitting next to each other, but they...
Do you guys like talking on the phone? Do you talk on the phone very much?
I don't, to be honest, I would rather text. Because it's just so much easier, and if I'm doing something, it just kind of goes along with my timeline. I don't know.
It's efficient.
I find myself like wanting to get off the phone.
Yeah.
I don't like to have long
conversations.
I'm like, okay, well, Sue,
You're not making.
Agreed.
I'm the worst at this. Suddenly, I used to talk to my mom all the time. My sister once in a while. Now I talk to my sister never. My mom, not as often as before. and everyone's texting now. But to me, that just comes down to you don't want to set aside the time, because when you're talking to someone, you have to do that. You can't really do that and something else at the same time. It's hard to hold the phone and do something else.
Right.
But texting, it's like I can respond, I'll put it down, do this other thing. Did they respond yet? Pick it back up. You know what I mean? It's just like you're not really giving them your full attention.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, that's true. That's a really good point.
And we can have all these discussions because we're having it quite often here on the Sunrise Extra show. Thank you for watching us on your digital device this morning. It's not going backwards. I mean, we're not changing this. It's not going to get better.
It can get better, though, because it can get better because it is about your personal choice to interact with it or not. And just because you can respond to somebody instantaneously doesn't mean you have to. I mean, that's an intentionality that I think that's the best word that I can find for it.
Where does that
you don't have to do it.
pressure come from?
What
actually creates that pressure?
Here's the thing.
Maybe that's a good question.
You've got a text comes in and it's waiting, and then you know, like if you don't get a response from somebody via text, you're like, that was rude. You know, like you don't want to be thought of as rude, or like totally blew someone off because I didn't respond. I don't know. So
one of my best friends lives in Miami, Florida, and we go long times without talking. We were college teammates and whatever, and long times have elapsed, right? But we still like keep in touch. We do talk once in a while, but sometimes our text messages are like 7 days apart.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I suddenly had to realize I have to stop apologizing. I mean, he's a father of 3, and I just had to stop apologizing for, I'm sorry, I'm just getting back to you on this, but I thought about it, and this is what I wanted to tell you. Yeah. Boom, now carry on, you know? And sometimes that's the way our text conversation goes.
I think most young people understand. Maybe older parents, they're like, why haven't you, are you, my mom
are you okay?
I'm dead or something.
Me too.
If I haven't responded within a certain amount of time. I mean, literally.
She'll text me like a million times.
Turn on the TV to make sure you're there. Okay.
Yeah. Driving, I'm like carrying the kid and groceries, and like I can't, And so I think people get it. Some people don't get it.
Like our moms.
Yeah. Low Carb Sean on Twitter, love your name. He says, good morning from Canada. They have new legislation in Canada that started February 1st. Now they have a distracted driving fine of $520 Canadian if you're driving distracted. So that's why it's like, sorry, Mom, I can't talk to you.
Right.
Unless I'm talking to you through the whole car speaker, which
the Bluetooth or the earbuds, right? That's still legit, but you could make a strong argument that that's still not putting your full attention on the road, right?
We keep coming up with devices that allow us to be distracted on the road. It's like, you don't have to hold the phone anymore, but the Bluetooth, I mean, this thing, as soon as I walk into the car, it syncs up now. And I don't even have to do anything to make the phone suddenly appear on that screen. Chrissy Reed providing lots of great comments on the feed today. Hi, Chrissy. She says, number one, I want to share 2 of hers. The first one, she says, we need a public holiday. And I'm curious, would this actually work?
Like a detox holiday?
A long weekend with no technology at all.
That'd be great.
And basically, you
then
would go
everyone's
out
on the same page.
That would
be shame people
innovative.
who are following along. What the hell are you doing on that phone? I don't know who you are, but why are you on that phone?
That's a really good idea.
But then she also says we should bring back the 80s. People were so much more helpful then, which tells me this. Let's go back to the 80s. What happened in the 80s? The people from the 50s said, let's go back to the 50s. And if you go back to the 50s, the people there said, let's go back to the 20s. Yeah. It's always better 30 years ago. That's the fact of the matter.
JR Raven on YouTube. Where did it go? Oh, she says, good morning, KGW. I can go days without using the phone, but I need my Netflix. It's the only TV I have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be like Debbie Downer here.
Tell me.
But I'm telling you, you said it's a personal choice. We can make the choice to improve on this, say. But I'm telling you that maybe one individual at a time, but as a whole, we're going down the wrong tube. Because what's happening is while we're trying to figure out ways to detach from this.
Yeah.
Something's being created right now that we don't even know about. That's going to be the next big rage that we're not ready to defend against. Digitally speaking. And so I just feel like, man, we didn't, 20 years ago, we didn't know Facebook didn't exist. We weren't addicted to that. Now it is so a part of our lives. It happens so quick. But again, there's something that 10 years from now we will be so consumed with that we don't even know about yet. Yeah. And that's why I feel like we can't keep up with the technology.
Well, you don't have to keep up with the technology.
People are, though,
really
Brenda. Let's be realistic.
But I'm saying you do not have to dive headlong into every single thing that comes out.
And
I'm not doing TikTok. I'm doing Snapchat.
Yeah.
Hey, we want to read a couple comments from you. Producer Louisa, can you throw up that tag board for us? Because we were getting a bunch of comments on Facebook. So we were asking folks if you guys could go for a weekend digital detox. Daniel says, nope. I need it for work. We are with you, Daniel. Sally, my favorite long weekend every year is camping where there is no cell service.
Oh,
Forced
perfect.
to shut it down and love it. I will admit, I do love hearing all of the pings when we come back into service.
What?
It is kind of satisfying in a sick way. Katie says, sure, forgot my phone at work on Friday a few times. I just left it there till Monday. Good for you. Judy says, yes, there are more important things than my phone. And Carl says, no, because I need my music.
Oh, yeah, Spotify,
Exactly.
YouTube.
Bob, I barely use it on weekends. Good for you. And Rick says, I've gone longer than that. I grew up in the 80s. Yes, we are with you, Rick. So, Christine, lead us into, what does Beth say? Does a camera count as a digital device? I could lose the phone, but I need a camera.
A camera? I guess if you're just taking pictures.
It's all on the same thing.
A camera on the
It's
phone.
your digital
Oh,
device.
I mean,
Lead
that's
us through our
fine.
challenge of the day.
Okay, so today, right, isn't it like, what is it? It's the hour.
You made it. How can I lead us through? They don't know what it is.
I totally forgot. I thought we were going to talk about the family. Oh,
sorry.
My brain was like
That's
on one
okay.
thing, and I was like, oh no. Okay, so we're talking about no tech 1 hour before bed because so many of us know when you're sitting there on your phone, like time flies, and all of a sudden you're like, an hour has passed, and you're like, wow, I should have gone to bed, or I could have gone to do like the dishes or gotten so many other things done. This will help you sleep at night too, because I think there have been studies about the light that these devices emit. So if you just get those devices shut off or put away a little earlier, you're gonna get a better night's
My
sleep.
trick to this is, I put that away and I read a novel, and that makes my eyes like droop down, and I sleep deeper. Like when I just read, even for 10 minutes, I'll like watch the clock for 10 minutes. I'll read, and then by the time I put that bookmark in, boy, I am like ready to go to sleep.
I failed abysmally with yesterday's challenge. I confess to Christine. I was running around the newsroom doing stuff, and yesterday's challenge was do not walk and look at your phone. And I was going down that hallway, and I was, answering something, and I almost ran into our maintenance guru, poor Monty. I was like, dang, sorry,
Brenda's
dude.
coming.
Yeah.
Coming down the hallway.
I did it for 45 minutes. I was walking the dog, leash in this hand, phone in the other.
Yeah.
I was completely guilty.
I
Sorry.
failed it too.
I probably don't have time to dive too deep into this, and I forget some of the particulars of the study. But not only just like removing yourself from this device 1 hour before bedtime. There was a study that was done with college students, and they said taking the devices and removing them from the room altogether. Like, do not have them in the room where you sleep, because they said just the idea in their heads, I guess, of that device being nearby, somewhere where they could grab it easily, was enough to cause some disruptions in sleep. And they said the students who slept in a room without the devices anywhere in there, but it wasn't even the light, Brenda. They said you could actually take a device, turn it power off, put it in the room.
Just that knowledge.
And that was not as effective as taking the device and completely removing it
that
from
would make
that
me
room.
more like
and nothing to do with the
anxious.
light.
I do
Like,
it.
is
I sleep
stolen?
without
Where
it.
is it? I just turn
I'll have to find a new
the
alarm
ringer
clock.
off.
Again, there's probably more to that study, but the gist was, it was not just, they said, we're not talking about powering off the device. We're talking about taking it out of the room.
Crazy.
Not having it in the room.
Crazy.
I do that at night, so it does help. I mean, it's hard in the beginning, but it's kind of nice.
All right. Yeah. We will be detoxing all week. Tune in for our challenge of the day tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Yes, enjoy the beautiful sunrise. We will see you on Monday.
Yeah, now's not a good time to turn away from your digital device. This is good.